Okay, so picture this, right? You open up your inbox, and it's not like, ugh, more emails. It's actually stuff you want to see. Emails that are like, hey, this is for you,
Yeah.
you know, not just somebody trying to sell you something.
Right.
And that's what we're diving into today. It's like this whole email marketing revolution that's going on. We've got research on how much it's growing, the challenges marketers are facing trying to reach us, and some pretty amazing innovations they're using to make our inboxes better.
It really is remarkable how much things have changed, you know? This isn't just like blasting out the same email to everybody anymore. It's about actually understanding what people like, what you want.
Right, so where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with like the big picture, the numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
So our research shows that like the email marketing software market, it's going to reach like, get this, $3.8 billion by 2032.
Whoa, that's a lot of billions.
It is like a massive jump, right?
So what's causing this huge, like, explosion in growth?
Well, think about it. Every time you go online, right? It's just like bam, 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 ads, content, notifications. It's like overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. It's information overload every time.
Exactly. And businesses are like, how do we break through all that?
Ooh.
So email, when it's done well, it's kind of like this direct line to connect with people. You know, it's more personal, it's more engaging.
So it's not just them wanting to sell us stuff. It's almost like they're trying to, like, win our attention. Because there's so much competition online now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not all like, sunshine and roses for marketers. There are some definite challenges.
Oh, yeah. What kind of problems are they running into?
Well, like we were just saying, right, information overload is a big one. How do you make your email stand out when everyone's inbox is already jammed?
Yeah, you can't just send out, like, the same generic email to everyone and expect it to work.
Nope, not anymore. And that's where this whole idea of audience segmentation comes in, right? It's about understanding what makes each person, each recipient unique. What do they like? What do they need? So that businesses can tailor their messages, So it's actually relevant.
Okay, yeah. So, like, instead of getting an email about, I don't know, lawnmowers when you live in an apartment, you get something about indoor plants or whatever you're interested in.
Exactly.
But, like, figuring out what each individual wants, that sounds, I mean, impossible.
Well, it is kind of a logistical nightmare if you think about it, right?
Right. So what are marketers doing about that?
Well, that's where, technology comes in.
Okay.
We're seeing a surge in like automation and AI, artificial intelligence.
Whoa, AI and email. That sounds pretty intense. What does that even look like?
Yeah, like think of it as like a, super smart assistant for email marketers.
Okay.
It can analyze tons of data like your browsing history, what you bought in the past, even like, how you've interacted with emails before.
To figure out what you might be interested in.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not like robots writing emails. It's more like using data to help businesses make the emails relevant to us.
Right. It's about getting the right message to the right person at the right time.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better about the whole AI thing.
Yeah.
So can you give us like some specific examples of how this is being used in the real world?
Oh, for sure. Imagine you're like, browsing for some new running shoes online. AI could, help a company send you an email showcasing like the latest models based on your browsing history, even like suggest maybe a specific type of shoe.
Oh, interesting.
Or let's say you left like, a pair of sneakers in your online shopping cart.
Oh, yeah, the abandoned cart.
Yeah. An
Yeah.
automated email could like, gently remind you, hey, those shoes are still waiting for you. And maybe even offer you like, free shipping or something to like kind of nudge you to complete the purchase.
Oh, yeah, that's clever. They get you every time.
It happens.
But, I mean, isn't all this targeted marketing, doesn't it feel a little, I don't know, creepy?
I get it. I get it. It is a fine line, right? Like between being helpful and being intrusive. But remember, you always have control over your data. Your communication preferences. You can like unsubscribe from emails, you can manage your cookie settings, and, be selective about who you share your information with.
Yeah, that's true. It's about being aware and making choices that feel right for you. Okay, so we've talked about AI and personalization, but there's another big innovation shaking things up in email marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about interactive content? What's that all about?
Yeah, so remember, like those old static emails, just text and a couple of images.
Yep, pretty boring.
Right. Well, interactive content, this is a total game changer. Like instead of just passively reading, you can actively engage with emails through polls, quizzes, even games. And dynamic content that changes based on what you do.
Wait, hold on. Dynamic content, what does that even mean?
Okay, so imagine you get an email from like your favorite clothing store, right? They're showcasing, the new spring collection. Now, instead of seeing the same stuff as everyone else, the email actually changes based on your past purchases, like what you've bought before, what you
Hmm.
like. So if you tend to like, buy dresses, you might see more dress options. Or if you usually gravitate towards athletic wear, then, they'll showcase the latest leggings and sports bras. It's basically like a personalized shopping experience.
So it's like they're reading my mind, but in a good way.
Exactly. That's the power of interactive content, right? Like emails are more fun, more engaging, and they're definitely more relevant to your specific interests. And, when you're more engaged, you're more likely to remember it. And more importantly, take action. Click through, buy something.
So it sounds like a win-win, right?
Yeah.
We get more interesting, more relevant emails. And businesses, they get better results from their marketing.
Exactly. And it all comes back to like that relationship building that we were talking about earlier. The more engaging and personal it is, the stronger the connection.
So it's not just about, like, companies selling us stuff. It's about creating a conversation, building trust, and making us feel like, loyal customers.
Absolutely. And as these technologies just keep evolving, we can expect to see even more innovative and creative ways to use email to connect with people on like a deeper level.
That's really cool. But, let's step back for a second and think about this from the perspective of, the average person. Why should we care about all of this? Like, what's the takeaway for someone who's just trying to, like, get through their inbox and get on with their day?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I think it's important to remember that all these advancements are ultimately about making things better for you, the recipient. It's about making your life easier, right? Getting information that's relevant to you, less spam, more control over what you see in your inbox.
So instead of feeling like, ugh, my inbox is overflowing, we could start to see it as like a curated feed of information that we actually want.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. But, I mean, let's be real. Not every business out there is using these technologies in a way that's good for consumers,
Mm.
right? There's always the potential for someone to misuse it.
You're absolutely right. You bring up a very important point. Like any powerful tool, right? There's always that risk of it being used for the wrong reasons. And that's why it's so important for people to understand like how their data is being used
Hmm.
and to advocate for their privacy rights.
So it's not just about businesses being, like, innovative, but it's about them being responsible with that power. But, for the average person, how do you even begin to navigate this whole thing? Like, how can you make sure that you're not being taken advantage of?
Knowledge, I think. Knowledge and awareness are key. Like the more you understand about how email marketing works, the better equipped you'll be to, make good choices about the brands you interact with, what information you choose to share.
So do your research, be informed, and be proactive about protecting your privacy.
Exactly. And there's a lot of resources out there to help you do that, like websites like the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They've got a lot of valuable information about online privacy and data security.
That's a good tip. I'll check
Yeah.
that out. But it's not all on the individual, right? I mean, businesses also have to step up and make sure they're using these technologies ethically in a way that respects people's privacy.
Absolutely, 100%. Transparency is so important. Businesses need to be upfront about how they're using data and give people control over their preferences. And ultimately, I think we should all support brands that share our values and communicate with us in a way that feels authentic. You know,
Respectful.
that's a good point. It's about like choosing to do business with companies that align with your own values. Okay, so this whole conversation has been incredibly insightful. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of this whole like email marketing revolution. What other trends are you seeing out there? Like what's on the horizon? Well, one thing I'm keeping my eye on is this increasing focus on hyper personalization. And we talked about personalization in general, but this is like next level. It's about using data to create truly individualized experiences.
Okay, I'm listening. What does that actually look like?
So imagine you get an email from like your favorite travel company, right?
Uh,
And it's not just suggesting destinations based on, your past trips, but it also includes like, personalized recommendations for, restaurants, activities, even local events that are happening during your travel dates. It's like having a personal travel concierge in your inbox.
Whoa, that's pretty amazing. It sounds like it takes all the guesswork out of planning a trip. So hyper-personalization is all about, like, anticipating our needs and delivering this, like, totally tailored experience.
Yes,
But
exactly.
how is that even possible? It seems like that would require, like, tons of data and some seriously sophisticated technology.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Hyper-personalization relies heavily on, like advanced data analytics, machine learning algorithms, and a deep understanding of, customer behavior. It's not something that every business can just like, implement overnight.
So it's kind of like the cutting edge of what's possible with email marketing.
Yeah, it is.
But it sounds like the potential benefits could be huge, both for businesses and for consumers.
Absolutely. For businesses, it can lead to more engagement, customer loyalty, and ultimately more revenue. And for consumers, it means getting a more relevant, valuable, and enjoyable experience.
It's so interesting to think about how much power we actually have as consumers these days.
Hmm.
Yeah, it used to be like we were just at the mercy of whatever marketing messages came our way.
Right.
But now, with all this talk about personalization, customer experience, it feels like the tables are turning.
It's true. And I think what's really exciting is that they're realizing that building a genuine relationship with their customers, it's more valuable than just like, blasting out these generic marketing messages. It's about creating a dialogue, listening to feedback, and fostering a sense of community.
And email plays a big part in that, right? It's that direct line of communication.
It is. It allows for a level of, personalization and intimacy that you just don't get with other marketing channels. It's a place where businesses can share, valuable content, offer exclusive deals, and connect with their customers on a more personal level.
So as we move further into this whole like email marketing revolution, what are some of the things you're watching? What trends are you keeping an eye on?
One that I find really interesting is this increasing focus on user privacy and data security.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. As people become more aware of how their data is being used, businesses are like under more pressure to be transparent and responsible with their data practices.
Right. It's not just about like collecting as much data as possible anymore. It's about using it in a way that respects people's privacy.
Exactly. And this is where we're seeing new technologies and approaches emerging like privacy enhancing technologies, PETs, and differential privacy. And these allow businesses to like analyze data and get insights without compromising individual privacy. For example, imagine a company wants to understand the purchasing habits of their customers, right? With PETs, they can analyze aggregated data to identify trends without ever accessing your individual purchase history.
That's really interesting. So it's like they can still learn about their customers' preferences and habits, but without, knowing specifically what each person bought.
Exactly.
Wow, this seems like a really promising way to balance like the desire for personalization with the need for privacy.
It is. It's about, using data to create better experiences for consumers while respecting their right to privacy and control over their information.
I'm really fascinated by all this. It's so dynamic, so constantly evolving. And it seems like email marketing is going to continue to be such a crucial part of how businesses connect with people.
I agree. And, as consumers, I think it's important to stay informed about these trends and advocate for our own privacy and data rights.
Well said. So we've had this amazing deep dive into the world of email marketing, and I feel like I have a much better understanding of the challenges, the opportunities, the ethical considerations.
It's been great, hasn't it?
Yeah. And for everyone listening, we hope this episode has, given you a fresh perspective on your inbox and the power of email marketing. You have a voice in shaping the future of how businesses communicate with you. So be informed, be engaged, and, be empowered to create the kind of digital experiences that you want to see.
Yes. And as always, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the topics that matter to you.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious.
It's about sending the right message to the right person at the right time.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better about the whole AI thing. It actually sounds pretty helpful. But let's get specific here. What are some real-world examples of how this is being used?
Oh, for sure. Like imagine you're browsing for some new running shoes online.
Okay.
AI could, help a retailer send you an email showcasing like the latest models based on what you were looking at, even like suggest a specific type of shoe, based on what you've bought before, what you seem to like.
Oh, interesting. So it's like they're kind of predicting what you need.
Yeah. Or let's say you left a pair of sneakers in your online shopping cart.
Oh, yeah. The abandoned cart.
Exactly. An automated email could gently remind you about it. Hey, those shoes are still waiting for you. And maybe even offer you free shipping or something to kind of nudge you to complete the purchase.
Oh, yeah, that's clever. They get you every time.
It happens.
But I mean, doesn't all this targeted marketing, doesn't it feel a little, I don't know, creepy?
I get it, I get it. It is a fine line, right, between being helpful and being intrusive. But remember, you always have control over your data and your communication preferences. You can unsubscribe from emails, manage your cookie settings, and be selective about who you share your information with.
Yeah, that's true. It's about being like an informed consumer,
Mm.
making choices that you're comfortable with. Okay, so we've talked about AI and personalization, but there's another, like innovation shaking things up in email marketing, right?
Yeah.
What about interactive content? What's that all about?
Yeah, so remember those old static emails, just
Yeah.
text and a couple images,
Pretty boring.
right? Well, interactive content, this is a total game changer. Instead of just passively reading, you can actively engage with emails through polls, quizzes, even games. And dynamic content that changes based on what you do.
Wait, hold on. Dynamic content. What does that even mean?
Okay, so imagine you get an email from your favorite clothing store, right? They're
Mhm.
showcasing their new spring collection. Now, instead of seeing the same stuff as everyone else, the email actually changes based on your past purchases and your preferences. So if you tend to buy dresses, you might see more dress options. Or if you usually gravitate towards, athletic wear, then they'll showcase the latest leggings and sports bras. It's basically like a personalized shopping
So
experience.
it's like they're reading my mind, but in a good way.
Exactly. That's the power of interactive content, right? Like emails are more fun, more engaging, and they're definitely more relevant to your specific interests. And, when you're more engaged, you're more likely to remember it and, more importantly, take action. Click through, buy something.
So it sounds like a win-win, right? We
Yeah.
get more interesting, more relevant emails, and businesses, they get better results from their marketing.
Exactly. And it all comes back to that relationship building that we were talking about earlier. The more engaging and personal it is, the stronger the connection.
So it's not just about like companies selling us stuff. It's about creating a conversation, building trust, and making us feel like, loyal customers.
Absolutely. And as these technologies just keep evolving, we can expect to see even more innovative and creative ways to use email to connect with people on a deeper level.
That's really cool.
Right.
But let's step back for a second and think about this from the perspective of, the average person. Why should we care about all of this? Like, what's the takeaway for someone who's just trying to get through their inbox and get on with their day?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I think it's important to remember that all these advancements are ultimately about making things better for you, the recipient. It's about making your life easier, right?
Yeah.
Getting information that's relevant to you, less spam, more control over what you see in your inbox.
So instead of feeling like, ugh, my inbox is overflowing, we can start to see it as like a curated feed of information that we actually want.
Yes, exactly.
It really feels like email marketing is at this crossroads.
Huh.
On one hand, you have all this incredible technology that can create these hyper-personalized experiences. But on the other hand, there are all these growing concerns about data privacy and how it could be misused.
Yeah, you're right. It's about finding that sweet spot, right? Where personalization makes things better for you, the consumer, but doesn't compromise your privacy. It all comes back to using data responsibly and ethically, putting people first.
And that's where we, as consumers, have way more power than we think. We can support businesses that are doing things the right way, the ones that are transparent about their data practices and, actually give us control over how they communicate with us.
Exactly. It's not just about sitting back and, getting whatever emails they send. We get to shape the kind of communication we want. If you don't like what a company is doing with your data, unsubscribe. Adjust your privacy settings, make your voice heard.
It's about being informed and, taking control.
So this brings me to a question I want to leave our listeners with today. We've talked about how businesses are using email marketing to reach us, but what about the other side of that?
Hmm.
What kind of relationship do you want with the brands you interact with? And what role does email play in that?
That's a great question. Do you want it to be purely transactional, where it's just about, getting sales and offers? Or do you want something more collaborative, where brands use email to share valuable content, get feedback, and build a community?
It comes down to what you value, how you want to interact with brands online. And the cool thing is, you get to decide.
You do. You can curate your inbox to reflect the kinds of relationships you want. Engage with the ones that make sense for you and, move on from the ones that don't.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of email marketing. And it's clear that this is about way more than technology. It's about people. It's about how businesses and consumers are connecting and how we can use email to build these, meaningful and beneficial relationships. Absolutely. It's been great talking about all this with you.
And to everyone listening, we hope this episode has empowered you to take control of your inbox. Create a digital experience that works for you. The future of email marketing is in your hands. So be informed, be engaged, and be the architect of your own digital destiny.
Well said. And as always, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious.